Hey, and welcome to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. Quick conversations, information, and inspiration. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga, and I hope you enjoy this episode of The Short Disney Show. On March 13th, 2005, the Walt Disney Company announced that Bob Iger would be its next CEO. When he took over the day-to-day operations of the role, Michael Eisner still technically held the title of CEO for 6 more months. Wait a minute. What? Let me rewind a little bit. To tell the story of Bob Iger's CEO career that came to an end in February of 2020 and then to another end in March of 2026, I also need to tell the story of how he got the job when Roy E. Disney wanted to literally save Disney from, well, itself. Oh, and I need to tell you why his CEO career ended and then began and then ended again. Oh, and I also need to tell you about how he basically bought everything he wanted, like a kid in a toy store with his parents' credit card. So, on this episode of the Mickey in Minutes podcast, let's explore the career of Disney's two-time CEO, Bob Iger, by talking about what I consider to be his 3 biggest highs and his 3 lowest lows. These are, of course, based on my opinions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Do you agree with my lists? Let me know in the comments on Instagram, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. So, let's jump right in. Robert Allen Iger was born on February 10, 1951. He graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in television and radio from Ithaca College in 1973 before getting a simple job working on TVs at ABC. Oh, and before that, he was a weatherman, which makes his cameo in Zootopia 2 all the more hilarious. But anyways, he eventually moved up in ABC, becoming the president of it in 1994. Then in 1996, ABC was purchased by the Walt Disney Company. This put him on the track that would change his career and life forever. Bob Iger stayed as the chairman of ABC at Disney until the year 2000, when he became the president of Disney, working under the legendary but controversial and actually my personal favorite CEO, Michael Eisner. Then finally in 2005, he got to the top of the mountain and became the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. He did some great things that changed the company forever, and some pretty controversial things that left people, like me, scratching their heads in confusion and disappointment. But with 2 non-consecutive terms in the role, he definitely won't be forgotten anytime soon. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and, well, the chapek of his career. I'll start with the good. Good number 1. He, quote, saved Disney. So this is a long story, but basically, Roy E. Disney, the son of Roy O. Disney and the nephew of Walt Disney, had some major disagreements with then CEO Michael Eisner about some, quote, serious differences of opinion about the direction and style of management, end quote. He claimed that he neglected the animation division, had very public disputes with Pixar's CEO Steve Jobs, and that his restructuring of the company turned it into a soulless conglomerate, among other things. Boy, that sounds familiar. Like another CEO that we love to hate. But I won't get there yet. Roy, who was a member of the board of directors, asked for an extension of his term and was denied, so he resigned. After he left the company, he started SaveDisney.com in order to get Eisner and his handpicked team members out and to save Disney from their very own CEO. This caused a stir among shareholders, and 43% of them sided with Roy. Eventually, the board was convinced that replacing Eisner as chairman was a good idea. So they did, but he remained CEO. Things just snowballed and got worse for Eisner after that, and soon he announced his resignation a year earlier than his contract expiration. The CEO position was then passed on to Bob Iger, and as they say, Disney was saved. Now, Roy E. Disney did eventually rejoin the board and he shut down SaveDisney.com thanks to Bob Iger. Now, speaking of Disney CEOs doing questionable things, let's talk about bad number one. Bob Iger promoted Bob Chapek. In February of 2020, Bob Iger made a decision that he quickly came to publicly regret. He named former chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts Bob Chapek as his successor, a changeup that led to one of the worst eras in Disney history. From big PR blunders to major price hikes at the parks and to the monetization of once free services, goodbye FastPass, to then the firing of a well respected and valuable Disney executive, and so much more. This one person, Bob Chapek, shook things up so much that the fans and the board lost all confidence and any fondness they may have had in the man. He was then fired from Disney, and Bob Iger swooped back in to save the company, well, a second time. He was reinstated as CEO on November 20th, 2022, and publicly referred to Chapek's time as a mess. He said, quote, "When I came back, I had a tremendous amount that needed fixing. But anyone who runs a company also knows that it can't just be about fixing. It has to be preparing the company for its future." So Iger became obsessed with picking the right CEO next time. And as we know now, he eventually picked Josh D'Amaro to be CEO. And, well, it's been about a week, so far so good, right? Now there is tons to discuss about Bob Chapek's very short career as the Walt Disney Company's CEO that I'm not going to get into here. But if you want to hear a whole episode about just him, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to do it. Okay, so for my number twos, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit and combine good two and bad two because these things are pretty controversial and could kind of go either way. So I'll tell you whether I consider them goods or bads, and you let me know if you agree with me in the comments. So what I'm talking about are acquisitions. Bob Iger might be best known for his acquisitions, actually. Throughout his time as CEO, he bought Pixar, Lucasfilm, Marvel, Fox, and a bunch of other things. But for this list, let's just talk about those big four. Let's start with Pixar. As we mentioned just a few minutes ago, when Eisner left the company, the Pixar-Disney relationship was on the rocks. One of the first things Bob Iger did as CEO was repair that relationship. Then, on January 24th, 2006, Disney announced that it would acquire the company for $7.4 billion in stocks. With that, Steve Jobs became the largest Disney shareholder. I think we could all agree that this was a great deal. We've gotten some amazing films, shows, and even theme park attractions out of it. So I definitely place this in the good category. Do you agree? A few years later, Disney acquired Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion on December 31st, 2009. This deal led to 4 out of the top 20 highest grossing films of all time, with Avengers Endgame at number 2, Infinity War at number 7, The Avengers at number 13, and Age of Ultron at number 19. While the theme park rights are still a little weird between Disney and Universal, and honestly some people don't really care for the Avengers campuses around the world, I definitely put this in the good category. Most of the movies are amazing, and the TV shows have also been really good too. Also, I happen to really like Avengers Campus at Disneyland. So, yeah, what do you think? Good or bad? And now for the controversial one. On October 30th, 2012, Disney announced its acquisition of Lucasfilm for $4.05 billion. This included Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Now I can hear you booing at this one loud and clear. And I know I'm being peer pressured to put this into the bad category. But here's the thing. I really like The Force Awakens, like a lot. And
I think The Mandalorian Season 1 is one of the best pieces of Disney television that they've put out in a very long time. And I, even as a theme park fan, really like Galaxy's Edge, even though I know it's not nearly as good as it could have been. But come on, Rise of the Resistance, that ride's incredible. You can't disagree with that. Also, I love that Disney can freely use Indiana Jones now. That makes me think Epic Stunt Spectacular at Hollywood Studios is safe. Thank goodness. And I know the new ride coming to Disney's Animal Kingdom is going to be awesome. But I also do acknowledge that a lot of the recent Star Wars films and TV shows were, well, terrible. So I'm torn. But overall, I'm going to call this good. Let me know what you think. And lastly, on March 20th, 2019, Disney acquired 21st Century Fox for about $71.3 billion. Now, this deal included 20th Century Fox, Fox Searchlight Pictures, Fox 21 Television Studios, FX Productions, and National Geographic Partners. More specifically, it included the IPs of The Simpsons, Avatar, X-Men, and Alien. Now, at least one of those really doesn't feel like Disney. Can you tell me which one? Anyways, I'm going to put this in the bad category. Pandora at Disney's Animal Kingdom is beautiful, but that's just about it. Honestly, it's not really that much of a draw for me. It doesn't pull me back into Animal Kingdom the way that I'm sure Disney executives wanted it to. I also think X-Men in the MCU will be really cool, but I hate The Simpsons and never, ever want to see that IP in a Disney park. I honestly just don't get this deal, other than the fact that they could build up their Disney Plus filmography, but more on Disney Plus in a bit. So what do you think? The acquisition of Fox, good or bad? Let me know in the comments. All right, on to good number 3. Bob Iger rescued Oswald. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was Walt Disney's first big animated character, before Mickey Mouse. He was created with Walt's friend and fellow animator Ub Iwerks. The first Oswald cartoon was 1927's Trolley Trouble. But believe it or not, the Oswald cartoons were not made for the Disney company. They were actually made for Universal Pictures. Yeah, Disney was making stuff for Universal. Isn't that weird? After making 27 shorts featuring this lucky rabbit, Walt Disney eventually lost Oswald when he and producer Charles Mintz disagreed about a payment increase. Mintz not only took Oswald, but he also took many of Disney's animators. But this was just the kick in the pants Walt needed to create a legendary mouse. You know, the one it all started with. But in February 2006, Bob Iger swooped in and made a deal to trade with Universal. Disney got Oswald the Lucky Rabbit back and all 27 shorts, and Universal got sportscaster Al Michaels. Now, I think that was a really fair trade. Now, you can finally see Oswald in the parks, on merch, and even in the super fun video game Epic Mickey. But the coolest thing is something Disney is currently working on with Oswald. They're making an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit series for Disney Plus. It'll be a combination of live action and animation, and it's being directed by Jon Favreau. They filmed a lot of it in Disneyland last summer, and I was lucky enough to be there on one of the filming days, and I met Jon Favreau. It was so amazing. Now I cannot wait to see the show. Okay, time for bad number 3, and this may be another one of those hear me out kind of things. Bob Iger launched Disney Plus. On November 8th, 2018, Bob Iger officially announced Disney's very own streaming service, Disney Plus, which got many Disney fans, like me, super excited. I even pre-joined the service and signed up for like 3 years in advance. Then, after a year of promotion and a trial run in the Netherlands, it finally launched here in the US on November 12th, 2019. And honestly, it changed Disney and the streaming world forever. It was initially very well liked by most Disney fans who loved having so many Disney films at their fingertips. It also launched with the promise of some brand new original content based on some super popular IP, including Star Wars, The Mandalorian, which season 1, in my opinion, is still the best piece of original scripted Disney Plus content to date, and Marvel with WandaVision. It also brought us some amazing Disney Parks content like The Imagineering Story by Leslie Iwerks, who happens to be the granddaughter of Oswald's co-creator of iWorks that I mentioned earlier. They also promised a lot more, but there was some content noticeably missing for people. Though Iger did say that eventually the entire Disney library would be up there, effectively undoing the Disney Vault, which was an intentional scarcity tactic that Disney began in the 80s to keep movies fresh and make money on home video sales. But I don't know. It's 2026 and we're still missing a lot of content. Like, where are the Disney sing-along songs? And how come I can't watch? Well, never mind. The point is, not everything is there. And honestly, a lot of the stuff from our childhoods that is there have been edited or changed in some weird way or another. So hang on to those VHS tapes from the vault if you want to see those original versions. Then, during the pandemic, Disney Plus became the place to watch new movies that should have been in theaters, which caused a lot of controversy. But that's because of the other former CEO named Bob, so I'll let that slide. But eventually, with the acquisitions of Fox and Hulu, there have been some weird and very not Disney content added, such as The Simpsons, and some more grown-up content that has made some people really upset. All in all, Disney Plus is now the third most popular streaming service with 131.6 million paid subscribers. So I guess it's doing well. But as a Disney fan, they're honestly missing the mark in too many ways for me, mainly with not nearly enough Disney Parks content and a major decline in quality of its original content. So I put this overall in the bad column. Do you agree with that? All right, so with all that said, it's easy to see why Bob Iger is being named a Disney legend at this year's D23 Ultimate Disney Fan Event in August. An honor that I'm sure other CEOs, Bob Chapek, will never receive. Okay, all kidding aside, we could probably let the Chapek thing go already. I mean, Iger cleaned up a lot of his messes and seemingly made up for it by appointing the very well-liked Josh D'Amaro as his successor. In an email to D23 members this year, Bob Iger wrote, "Over 2 decades as CEO, my focus has always been on protecting what makes Disney special while helping the company evolve for a changing world." I think it's safe to say he mostly did those things. What do you think? Did Bob Iger protect the Disney legacy during his 2 terms as CEO? Let me know in the comments wherever you listen, and let's keep this conversation going. Are there any other major accomplishments in Bob Iger's career that I missed? And are there any other real bad things that Bob Iger did that I didn't mention? Let me know that as well. And speaking of Mickey in Minutes conversations, be sure to join Mim Mondays, my weekly live stream where I discuss the latest Disney news stories with you. Catch it every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on Instagram, and check out the playbacks on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube if you can't make it live. And don't forget to subscribe on those things as well so you never miss an episode. So thanks again for listening to the Mickey in Minutes podcast, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. If you liked it, tell your fellow Disney friends about it. Follow on Instagram at Mickey in Minutes, subscribe wherever you listen, and check out mickeyinminutes.weebly.com for more content.